Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I know some of you are muted, so I know you're saying good afternoon to me as well. But I just wanted to say, can you all hear me? If you can, I'm seeing some of you. Can you just do a thumbs up? Great, thank you. Okay, I'm seeing you. Well, this is another opportunity. When we started Let's Talk with the Manager, the thing that the city wanted to do was to have an opportunity where we could reach out to residents and to speak with them about what's happening in our city. At this time when you're all home, at this time when you're wondering, what is government doing? We're having an opportunity just to talk to you about what it is that we're doing, the different things that we have put out, that we've responded to our community, but also beginning this week, rather than me just being a talking head and listening to you, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be asking different departments within our city to speak to our community about what it is that they do on a day in and day out basis, but also what are they doing in this time when we're dealing with this virus. How is your city responding? What are we doing from the different departments? How are we operating, if at all, differently, and what it is that we're doing? And today we're going to feature our code compliance department. They have hit the road running since this thing has started. There are many challenges that have come up as a result of it, and we're going to be reaching out to them. We're going to turn it over, before I turn it over to Horace and to Justin and also to Ridge Mercier. They're going to be talking about what it is that the Code Compliance Department is doing. I want to thank at this time the different residents who have signed in. This is the objective for this. This is really for you. And so we do appreciate the amount of participants that we have. I want to also say that I welcome our commissioners, our mayor and commission being on this call. Please understand that there is nothing being discussed here that is stuff that they're going to be voting on. That I just want to make it very clear that there's no sunshine violation being, there's nothing being violated here, because this is just informational. This is as if we're having a town hall meeting, but it's virtual. It's called by Zoom. I love to say that name because it's one of those words that they say, what? It's onomatopoeic. It sounds the way that it is. But anyway, I can be a talking head. I just want to get off now. I want to introduce you to Justin, who is in charge of code, one of the areas he's charged of, and I'm going to turn it over to him. He'll speak. There'll be an opportunity for you to interact. Remember, if you want to ask a question, just raise I think there's a thumb thing on there that you could raise to say, I want to ask a question. But let's begin the conversation. There's important information that you need to know as it relates to code and, oh my God, about short-term rentals and what's happening there. So I want to turn it over to you at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Prophet.
Okay, thank you, Manager. And good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well in our very unusual circumstances that we're having. And this is my house. I will just briefly introduce this, and then I'm going to turn it over to our Code Compliance Manager. We're going to both interact back and forth on this very brief presentation. We made a PowerPoint slide because some of you might not be able to hear well, so we'll have the text on here, and we'll have video, and not video, but we'll have phone numbers, websites, and email addresses, so you can write these things down if you're watching us online. So I'm going to turn it over to Ridge. Aldridge Mercier is our Code Compliance Manager. He's seen here on the top left. And I just want to make sure if everybody can see the PowerPoint presentation, just do a thumbs up. All right, I got the confirmation from the manager. That's good. All right, so Ridge, go ahead and start this, and we'll share this presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're all staying safe during these trying times. As Justin Prophet just mentioned, he is the Community Development Director. My name is Rich Mauriциer. I'm the Code Manager for the City of North Miami Beach. We also have Kleber Viello. He's the Code Supervisor. Right now, we have 5 current officers. However, we're in the works of hiring 1 additional officer. We're divided into 6 zones, and we're now working in a 2-team effort. Right now, we have 2 officers that's actually manning all 6 zones right now. And speaking of that, here is actually our zoning map. Currently, as I mentioned, we have 2 officers that's actually on duty for this particular team, and they're covering 3 zones apiece. And once we switch after our 2-week period, we will have 3 officers that will cover over a multitude of the 6 zones, which would be two zones apiece. Moving on to the roles of code and compliance. Now we want to enforce the city ordinance to protect the property values and the general public well-being. Now, one of the biggest issues is blight. And when you have blight and deteriorating properties, what could eventually happen is that you'll see an increase in crime and also a decrease in property values. And nobody wants their property values decreased. No, everybody wants to live in a safe environment. We also work very closely with many departments such as fire, police, zoning, the legal. We interact with the magistrate as well as the code enforcement board. But the ultimate goal of code compliance is to achieve voluntary compliance. Now, these are some of the top 10 code issues that we deal with on a weekly and daily basis. Some of the things that I want to highlight, like illegal dumping. From what I observed, from what I researched, is that illegal dumping has been probably the biggest issue in most cities. And we work hand in hand with the police as well as the Public Works Department to make sure that we get to the bottom of this. Also, illegal construction is very major. Even during these times, we're still going through illegal construction, and we make sure that code is working hand in hand with the building department to make sure that that people are getting cited, that people are actually following the ordinance. And of course, short-term rental is one of the biggest issues that we have as well. Justin is going to get more into the details about that on our next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. So in addition to the top 10 issues that Rich and his staff are dealing with on a daily basis, we do have some new issues that are popping up that relate specifically to the coronavirus emergency. Right now, Rich and his staff are obviously prioritizing the life, safety, and health related code violations. Those are the violations that mostly relate to the safety of in terms of illegal construction, when bulk trash doesn't get picked up. You can see here state, county, city, and emergency orders. Where he can enforce these orders, he is enforcing them. For example, he has created a non-essential business closure fine. So if we find that non-essential businesses are open for business, and we have found some, we are issuing fines for a first violation of $250 and then a second violation of $500. And those relate to the city and county emergency orders that have come down. And as Rich mentioned, he's also dealing with the short-term rentals right now, and our department in general is dealing with this too. Short-term rentals are particularly a problem during this emergency because a lot of people from other parts of the country have left hot zones maybe, and they've come down here to the warmth and beauty of South Florida. We've normally had issues with short-term rentals because we are a tourist economy and people do want to be here, and our city is in a perfect location next to the beach and in Miami-Dade County. And we also have good rates on our short-term rentals. So we normally deal with short-term rentals on an ongoing basis but lately it's become a problem because the state, county, and city have issued emergency orders that are consistent in prohibiting them, except if you're an essential lodger. If you're an essential lodger, what that means is we only want people using short-term rentals who are first responders, medical professionals, law enforcement, or others that are displaced from their homes or otherwise related to the coronavirus emergency. It's not for anybody else. It's not for vacationing. It's not for parties. It's not for normal business activity. All of those need to shut down except if there's an essential lodger. But even if you're an essential lodger or you're an operator who is going to rent to an essential lodger, you cannot rent unless you're registered with the city and you're following our ordinance, and you're only doing a short-term rental a few times a year per our ordinance. So it's very important to follow our ordinance. Now, some of you might be on the call that are not short-term rental operators, but know of them or know ones that might be violating our code. We have a special hotline just for short-term rentals, and it's on our website, or you can go to the website that you see on the screen here, and you can report the specific issues. And these prompts, this prompt will bring you through to reporting the problem with the short-term rental. Now, we have very hefty fines that we're levying against some of these rentals. Let me give you an example. We have one rental, and I'm not going to name it obviously, but we have one rental that now has at a minimum of $46,000 in fines running. They're going to be higher probably for that particular rental, but there will be more of those when we find them in violation. We find the best way to enforce this type of code is to have appropriate fines. Reason? Well, some of these rentals charge up to $500 a night to $1,000 a night. And the only way you can incentivize someone to comply with this type of code is to charge a requisite amount of fines to disincentivize them from doing this activity illegally. This is our website to report those things. But there are other ways. I'm gonna give it back to Ridge. Ridge, why don't you talk about all the ways to report a code violation in our city?
Okay. There are several ways, as Justin mentioned, to report a code violation. One of the ways is to go through Fix It NMB, as you see the website posted on the slide. You can also reach us through NMB Code at citynmb.com. You could email us. You could call us at the number listed below. Also, if you find any issues with short-term rentals and you want to report on our hotline, you could remain anonymous, or you could actually make yourself known, and we could make sure that we reach out to you, let you know exactly what's going on, what the fines are going on, and things of that nature at safe.hostcompliance.com/tip/type. And here is our contact information once again. My name is Rich Maurice, as I mentioned. My email address is listed there, as well as the code supervisor Clayburg Biello, as well as Justin Profit. And our address is listed there at 17050 Northeast 19th Avenue. We're located on the first floor. And I want everybody to make sure that you remain safe and listen to the governor. Make sure that you have your mask. Make sure that you're washing your hands and you keep yourself safe.
Great. Thank you, Rich. And just if you want to come into our office, you are still permitted to come into the city's offices. I don't have the hours on here. I apologize for that, but the code is open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. However, if you are coming into the building, you are required for the county's order and the city's orders, emergency orders, to wear a face covering or a mask. It's very important. Our staff it's for the staff safety, it's for your safety and those other residents who might be in the office with you. We are cleaning our offices daily. We've got all the cleaning supplies, the staff does, they spray everything down, but it's very important for you to wear that mask if you're coming into our building, and you can come into our building if you need to do other business with us. Other than that, I'm going to give it back to the manager. You can open it up to any discussion or questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Ridge and Justin. At this time, I just wanted to see if there's anybody out there who had some questions to ask as it relates to what you've just presented. Before I do the asking the questions, I want to recognize our mayor, Commissioner Kramer, and maybe Commissioner Smith were already on the line listening to us. I want to recognize them, tell them thank you for your continued confidence in this administration and what we're doing. We do appreciate that. But if we want to speak, I think Commissioner Kramer, you have your hand up.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Perfectly.
great. Thank you. Hi. I'm laying in my bed. I don't have the video on. I'm relaxing now. Anyway, my question is, how are we going to?
Your video is on.
How are we going to enforce the fines?
Rich, you want to talk?
Very good question, Justin.
Yeah.
Or
Rich,
wants to
Rich, why don't you talk about the fines and how we're processing those fines?
Okay, as far as fines for the short-term rentals is concerned, there's actually 3 parts. There's a $500 fine for having advertisement on Airbnb or any one of these short-term rental websites. There's also a $500 fine daily for having a lack of a registration, and also for actually conducting the short-term rental itself. And a repeat offender is $1,000. And if it's in conjunction with another violation, then it will be $1,000 for the first offense, and repeat will be $5,000 each. As Justin mentioned, there is a particular property that they were conducting many rentals. They were just not following the code, and they thought they could get away with it. And we managed to issue $46,000.
Okay, so Rich, thank you for that. But how are we going to enforce them to pay these fines? I know that when we have code violations, sometimes we never collect these fines until the houses are sold. And I know Dan is on here as well, our city attorney. I want to know what we can do to enforce these. And is there any way to wrap this into someone had mentioned to me about foreclosing type efforts on these homes when these fines, I guess, escalate, but I don't have all that information. Maybe just from what I'm saying, you can pick up from that, Dan, and understand what I'm going for. But a lot of these places, we know they're doing it and we haven't even identified them, because you all know that I've been in touch, and I'm sure other commissioners have been in touch with neighbors who are up in arms about this. So let's just go back to, I guess, my first question. How are we going to enforce them?
I could answer that, Commissioner, and Dan, if you can chime in too if I say anything incorrectly. But our ordinance, in addition to the fines, our ordinance goes further, and it outlines foreclosure as one option. So let's say you get to the point where you have a lot of fines on a property and it may exceed the value of the property. Foreclosure is an option. It gives the police chief some authority to shut it down if there's a clear and present danger to health and safety on any certain incidents. It also allows us to report the property, and we do this, and we've done this quite a few times already. We report the property to the property appraiser. If the property is claiming a homestead exemption, we make sure we report it to the Miami-Dade County property appraiser. And yeah, so and then eventually these fines will turn into liens placed on the property.
Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, thank you, Commissioner Kramer. Excellent question. I think I saw the mayor's hand go up. Did I see that?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, manager, and thank you to staff and everybody on the call. I miss you all. It's been a long time. I can't tell you that the manager and I have been here diligently every day, working. The shift of our employees have been 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And I'm very proud to see the great work of our team and everybody cooperating and working in conjunction with each other. In reference to what was just brought up, where Commissioner Kramer's question came up, maybe I want to pose this question in a different way. Where do we draw the line on the amount that continues to accrue? Because this amount can get so big, and eventually we're at the tail end of this. And if they have fines and liens on the house, we're the last ones to get paid. Or are we the first ones, Ridge or Justin? Maybe you can, but to the best of my knowledge, we're on the tail end of that. And so how do we collect on this that continues to accrue? Where do you draw the line, and where do you just shut down the house or red tag it or put something on it that basically they can't shut down? I mean, what is in our powers, to be able, what teeth do we have to be able to bite on this and say this is where we draw the line? Is my question number one, if you can answer that.
Dan, did you want to talk about some of the legal remedies that are possible?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I mean, of course, these things are evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And you have to take a look at a lot of factors in determining whether to proceed through litigation and to institute foreclosure. Pardon the background noise. So that's not a conversation that I've been privy to at this point. But if that's something that we seriously want to turn to, then that's something we have to make a policy decision about. The other thing I will say is there was a recent decision involving short-term vacation rentals with Miami Beach where fines were determined to be exorbitant based on the underlying violations. So there's a line that has to be walked between enforcement of the code and assessing fines for the violations that exceed the nature of the violation. I know that municipalities everywhere are evaluating that, and that's something we can do in the city as well.
And I see what Dan's going to, and that's why I asked the question, because I know that other cities have tremendous fines accruing as well. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to collect those fines. So and so that's where I'm going to. While it seems great that we're proactive and these numbers are going high, but on another note, then you're going to have the Airbnb people coming back at us and at other cities saying, these fines are outrageous and exorbitant, and we don't think it's fair. And then there's going to be another law that's going to come in and maybe change that. I'm concerned on that.
May I interject something real quickly? Mayor, only this morning, I'm speaking exactly to that point, and the one that was raised by Commissioner Kramer as well. We're looking into, when I say we, I know Justin, Horace, Dan, and myself will be getting together to see how we can implement some other measures given what's now practices and within the framework of the law. But I'll just let you know that from the standpoint of this administration, we are sick and fed up of what we're hearing. And so we're looking at how best we can react in a different manner. So the fines are one thing, but when you're making $1,000 in one day and we're charging it $500, it's nothing. Mm-hmm. So that's nothing to stop doing it. I mean, the quick math tells you I'm +5. So so there's some things we're gonna do. Of course, I don't want to get you guys into any sunshine issues here. So we'll discuss it and we'll bring it forward at the appropriate time. But I'll let you know that we're in discussions.
Okay, I do have some questions in reference to code. I don't know if the appropriate time is now or when somebody else. What's your preferred preference?
No, go ahead, Mayor. We've got about 3 or 4. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm going to keep.
I have a question.
I'll keep
I have a question as well. So as soon as the mayor's finished, I have a question.
Oh, hi, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, so real quick, if we could kindly have some officers checking around Jackson Hospital. They've been letting out a lot of patients over there, and there's a lot of people that are wandering around that don't have a place to go. I don't know if we really want to have this or how we can help these people out in our city to get them to the right place, to the right shelter. I feel very scared to see them wandering around, especially around Cal Bakery in the back. It's happening as well. There's a lot of graffiti. I didn't see that on the list of the 10 items that you brought up, but our town is going rampant with graffiti all over the place. Bell's Bicycles wall on the top has it. There's places down West Dixie Highway. Illegal dumping in the alleys is rampant. It continues. It's not being enforced, and we're having weird cars coming in here every day in the back. So those are just some of the things that I wanted to bring up. And if code could really help us with those, I mean, there's people even dumping in the swales when they got the back alleys. And
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But that's my 2 cents, that I like to give Commissioner Smith some time to give her words in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Commissioner?
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to work my iPad at my age. You need somebody that's 10 years old sitting next to you.
We hear you.
My question, Mr. Manager, is to the police chief.
Yes.
So I'm getting a lot of calls, as I'm sure my other commissioners are, about the disturbance of the enjoyment of your home. And my understanding is that the police go out, and then as soon as they leave, 20 minutes later, it's the same thing again. The mayor's shaking his head. So yes, that he's getting that as well. So how can the police department has big issues that I've seen on the email, but how can we not get the phone call again a half an hour later, and again the next day, and again this morning? So what is our game plan with that, please?
Before I turn it over to the police department, because they keep me abreast of the things that are happening, I'll just tell you, for example, there is that wave runner situation where a lot of people are jumping on wave runners and being all over the place. We kind of identified one of the major areas that people are launching the wave runners from. We have contacted the South Florida Water Management District because that's their ramp that they use to launch onto the canal. But they're now going to be shutting down the canal to make sure it's not open and having access to anyone except themselves, and only when it's needed it will be open. So that
shut down the ramp, not shut down the canal.
The ramp. They can't shut down the canal. Excuse me. Chief?
No, I just want to say they asked me those questions. Are they going to shut down the canal? I did have that app behind our home.
No, they're not going to shut down the canal. No, not at all. They will close the ramp that gives access to the canal, but they will not close down the canal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know, Manager, we're on limited time here. I'll do it as quick as possible. In regards to the loud music calls that we've been going to in Eastern Shores, what I've directed my officers to do is every time they receive that call, they will respond, and then within 30 minutes later, go back again to see if the noise ramps up again. A lot of this has just been like we've heard loud music, a lot of people gathering, so we've enforced the fact that no more than 10 people in one area. They need to leave the area. We're getting a lot of calls within the apartments, so we've added additional just patrolling in the area to try to lessen those issues that we're having there. In regards to the waterways, what we've done is we searched the area to see if there was any of the ramps that were open. Where, like the manager just noted, we did find one. We contacted South Florida Waste Management, and they went ahead and closed that gate. So that prevents people from going in the canal. We have asked Aventura to also help in regards to patrolling the waterways while we're not out there. You will see the boats out there today and a couple days this week. See if we can prevent anybody from going out there and creating wakes within the canal. That's just another one of our efforts. Lastly, we do have some juveniles that are starting to get bored, and they're now congregating in certain areas. So we're trying to minimize that. Just telling them, they need to practice social distancing. We do try to contact the parents. If these are our pal children, it makes it a lot easier for us, obviously. And then, of course, we're just dealing with a lot of the other issues that we have within the city. So I hope I was able to answer those questions in as short as possible.
If I may, just to add to what the chief was saying. So in terms of short-term rentals and how we interact with the police department, we are communicating with the police department staff, especially those that are out late at night when some of these noise complaints come in. Our ordinance does have the ability to allow us to incorporate noise complaints sent to the police department that are verified as noise violations. And what we'll do is we will add those to the list of fines, because those fines are increased if they are in conjunction with violations of the short-term rental ordinance. So if you have a short-term rental that's not following our code right now, and we find it and it's cited, and then they also have a noise complaint or illegal parked cars or any other violations of our code, that is added in as higher fines on top of the fines that they will get in violating the short-term rental ordinance. So we are definitely communicating with the police department. They're sharing these complaints with us when they come in.
And if I may add to that, Justin, it's good that we're imposing these fines, but going back to what Commissioner Kramer was saying when she asked her question, how are we enforcing it? And that's where we're going to have this conversation, because we have to be able to be hitting people in the pockets or making an example so that we can go back. I mean, we're operating under the due diligence that we have, but whatever methods we have of making sure that is heard and that people are feeling the effect of it. And I'm sorry to sound that way, because these are just repetitive things that are happening. If we're able to just take them, the bull by the horn, so to speak, and just to get those things under control, it will be better for us. So we'll discuss those things. Are there any other questions? Oh, Ketley, I see you have a question. Oh, Ketley's saying, oh, thumbs up. Okay, good, Ketley, thank you for the thumbs up. We have gone into extra time, so I'm going to wrap up now. If there's anyone who has a quick 15-second or 30-second thing, we can hear you.
Manager, if somebody could please address the issue that we're having along Snake Creek Canal with the cars parking over there by Lazul. It's a mud pit. I put in writing. I just want everybody to know to please get somebody out there. It's really bringing down the area. It looks nasty, and it's not what we'll do here in North Miami Beach. And
they're actually blocking a bikeway as well as a path that people walk. So yes, there are issues there. We're going to address it there.
Prior to COVID-19, not everything having to do with this virus going around.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'll have my officers go out there and do some patrolling and cite and give some parking citations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining it. I mean, we're here tomorrow at that time. I want to thank the 35 people who are online to hear this. And I just want you to know that tomorrow we'll be talking about planning and zoning. Please tune into that so you can hear what we're doing there. And I want you to stay informed, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay at home. You know, I'm looking to my left because Sharon is shoving all these papers in front of me what I need to be saying. So that's the reason why I tend to be looking that way. But this is a good format. I also want to recognize our public relations firm, Sachs Media, that's on this line, that's on our call every day, because what they have done is that they have spoken with media about this, and I know the International City Managers Association is inviting us to do a blog on our different management initiatives, and this includes one of them. So I want to say thank you, Sachs Media, for everything you do. Your worth has really come forward in this time in terms of pushing out the name of NMB. I know we're going to be on a call about something we're doing on Thursday, and I want to and everything else that you're doing. I want to thank you so much for that. Thank you so much again to the mayor and commissioners, to our residents who are on this call, and to the dedicated staff that keeps us glued in this time. Like I say to all of my employees when I speak with them in the morning on our 9:35 call, make that call, speak to that resident, speak to that family member, tell them you love them, and speak to your employees one by one. It's a rough time. Everybody's going through stuff, but we're here for each other. And I want to thank you so much. With that, I say bye. I'm going to have lunch.
Staff.
Get ready
Thank
for
you,
1:30.
staff.
Okay.
Thank you,
Everybody
staff.
be safe.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Good. Be safe. Be safe.
Thank you, everyone.
And wear your mask.
Oh, I got a bunch of them.
Okay. Bye-bye.